The Toronto Raptors and Portland Trailblazers have been linked in trade rumors for years, but it seems like this offseason might be the time a deal actually gets done between the two teams, and it could be a potential blockbuster, as the Blazers are looking to trade away a top 3 pick in this year's NBA draft, and Toronto, according to reports, are the only team that seems willing to play ball in terms of giving up decent assets in order to acquire some top draft capital. So we'll break down what the latest reports have been that have stirred up all these Blazers trade rumors, if the Toronto Raptors can slide into the top 10 of this year's NBA draft with other potential teams, and break down everything that's going on around the Toronto Raptors report and rumor mill. But let's dive into the thing that's really been sparking this fire, and it's John Hollinger coming out with a report saying that there aren't many teams that are looking to trade up for more potential draft capital, saying that the Chicago Bulls, the Portland Trailblazers, Washington Wizards, guys like Zach LaVine, Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal don't seem to be on the table. Toronto seems to be the only team that might entertain dealing some elite wings for draft capital. So the article goes on to say that with Portland in the win it for Dame mode, the Blazers are desperate for playable wings, even presuming they re-signed Jeremy Grant. Speculation is already widespread that a trade package of the 3rd pick and Anthony Simons could be something used to snag an elite small forward. So that's coming from NBA insider John Hollinger, saying that a package of Anthony Simons, top 3 pick, could be something the Blazers sort of thrown out to acquire some draft capital, or to acquire a solid wing guy. And the thing about the Toronto Raptors, thing about the 6'9" vision is it's the most highly desired position in the entire NBA. It hasn't worked out for the Toronto Raptors because we really essentially built our entire team as players that are the same mold, right? The same desirable mold with like Fred VanVleet, and we recently acquired Jakob Poeltl. Our team just doesn't make sense right now. So we have a lot of talented guys at this position that could be sort of fished out to other teams, to other sort of destinations. And Hollinger sort of put it, the Bulls don't seem to be that willing to give up of a LaVine or DeMar DeRozan. Bradley Beal doesn't seem to be on the table out there in the open market. We haven't heard what the LA Clippers are planning to do with Paul George, but given his recent injury history, over the past 5 years, really, not sure how much value he's going to command out there in the open market, how much interest will be there. The Toronto Raptors with Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby probably have the 2 best assets, or 2 of the most interesting assets out there that could potentially be tradable, because the other guy that was in a bunch of trade rumors at this year's trade deadline, Mikhail Bridges, essentially coming out from also John Hollinger, saying that on a related note, I have some terrible news for fans generating fake Mikhail Bridges trades. The Nets don't seem to have much incentive to play ball here. Brooklyn owes unprotected picks to Houston 2024, 2026, swaps in 2025 and 27. Thus, the Brooklyn Nets trading its good players and tanking would do a lot more for the Rockets than it would for the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn's likely best path forward is to middle along with Bridges, a centric team, and then deal with all the draft capital that they've gotten from the Phoenix Suns. So Mikhail Bridges was really the big 2-way player out there on the open market that people would compare OG Anunoby to, and Mikhail Bridges is the better player right now, at least in terms of his production, all that sort of stuff. Maybe OG in a different role, new coach, could take that leap, but Mikhail Bridges in the open market right now definitely is more valuable than OG. But with Mikhail Bridges potentially off the table, OG might be the only gettable guy for a lot of these teams looking to acquire athletic, long, desirable 3-and-D wings, and the Blazers are a potential, target there. And apparently, we all heard the rumors about OG potentially getting traded for the 7th pick last season, and the Raptors wanting more assets on top of it, which I think they should have, because OG is such a valuable piece, right? Apparently, Damian Lillard wasn't happy that the Blazers weren't able to acquire OG Anunoby. Basically, a report came out, said that this is from a Blazers beat reporter. The Blazers talked pretty seriously with Toronto about OG Anunoby, but Toronto wanted more than the pick for OG. Dame was not thrilled that night when they did not trade for OG Anunoby. Dame would have preferred if they traded the pick for OG, referring to the 7th overall pick that became Shaedon Sharpe. So the Blazers, they're trying to appease Damian Lillard. They want to build a team around him. They want to give one last push with Dame to see if they can make a playoff run. Dame wants OG Anunoby. The Blazers don't have many options out there on the open market, right? The Raptors seem to be the only team that's willing to play ball in terms of giving up elite wing assets in order to bring back draft capital. The Blazers only really have that draft capital or young guys that could potentially come back to Toronto. So there's been a lot of speculation about the Raptors potentially trading with the Portland Trailblazers to bring back, some young guys. Anthony Simons, a number 3 pick. Personally, As much as I love OG Anunoby, the potential for Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller, in the top three, these I don't know too much about the draft, but I know the top three players, and that's serious upside in a package. And Anthony Simons, when he runs the starting point guard position for the Portland Trailblazers, has put up some ridiculous stats for that team. Not much of a defensive impact guy, but the Raptors desperately need shooting and scoring and offensive punch. Where Fred VanVleet's been inconsistent, Gary Trent Jr., especially in the last month or two of the year, has been extremely inconsistent. So Anthony Simons can definitely give some scoring power to this Raptors team. If we lose Fred and Gary Trent Jr. as well, who are free agents, we desperately need more at that position there. Third, and Anthony Simons would be a steal for the Toronto Raptors. I feel like, as much of a homer as I am with OG Anunoby, the potential I think he could bring, especially with a new coach, being able to do what he can do, that will be a package that is too good to say no to, right? Scoot, Brandon Miller, one of those guys, or and then on top of an Anthony Simons, I feel like the Raptors would have to give back, sort of a win-now guy, maybe a Chris Boucher, maybe an Otto Porter Jr. I'm not sure how much value Otto has at this point, but it's an interesting deal, right? It's an interesting package. It's one that doesn't make me sick to my stomach when I see the potential deals getting thrown out left, right, and center. So that one I find interesting. Bleacher Report also threw out this one saying that this is a very similar package. Pascal Siakam going to the Portland Trailblazers, and the Toronto Raptors receive Anthony Simons, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, and the number 3 overall pick. Now this one, Pascal Siakam, I know a lot of Raptors fans are down on him. Half of them are saying OG Anunoby, you'd rather keep him than Pascal. Pack is a guy that's made All-NBA, 2 of the last 4 years. He's been an All-Star. He puts up ridiculous stats, and he did a lot for this team over the last couple seasons. So it's going to take a serious haul to come back. This is more so of a realistic package I could see going on, but I think the Blazers would have to throw in a little bit more draft capital, like another future pick or something like that. Keon Johnson's cool, right? Nasir Little's cool. Those are decent prospects, but I don't know. Anthony Simons, the number 3 pick, are the things I'm getting excited about this deal. It's the young guys for Portland, so this is a serious package, and it would make them a very scary team, right? With Damian Lillard, Pascal Siakam, Jeremy Grant there, right? Shaedon Sharpe running the 2. You're giving him a lot of responsibility in his second year. They still have Nurkic. Right? That would be a pretty interesting team out there in the Western Conference, but if you're dealing away an All-NBA player that seems to want to play for your franchise, that you could probably bring back, you need some serious value in return. And I don't know if maybe you could switch out Nasir and Keon Johnson for Shaedon Sharpe, no extra draft capital. Don't know if the Blazers would do that, but it's a lot of interesting packages that could go between the Portland Trailblazers and Toronto Raptors. Let me know your potential. Whip up the old trade machine down there in the comment section below. I want to see what you guys have to say, not just look at these Bleacher Report trades, but I also do want to briefly touch on some other teams in the top 10 of this year's NBA draft that could potentially be dealing away some of their picks, as the Dallas Mavericks apparently want to trade away number 10, which I don't know too many of the players. I haven't done a deep dive, but there's similar range. The Toronto Raptors are picking 13th right now. The Dallas Mavericks are looking to get off of 10. Obviously, OG would certainly get you number 10 in that draft. They don't have many other players I'd be that interested in on the Dallas Mavericks, so maybe a 3-team deal could be worked out there on that front. And there's also talk the Houston Rockets could potentially trade away their 4th overall selection in this year's NBA draft. And there's been Jalen Green, I think, is an unrealistic possibility, even though there were some rumors about him a couple weeks ago. Those seem to be shot down. But Jabari Smith, could he be a guy that could come back in a potential package? 4th, Jabari Smith. You're not getting Şengün at this point, but a couple shooters there they have on the Houston Rockets for Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby. If you're looking to sort of clear house, do one of these Portland Trailblazers-esque deals, there are some options for the Toronto Raptors to potentially make some trades. Now, we haven't heard any official news that they're talks or there's interested, sort of more so speculation from these insiders, the back ear, what they're hearing, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's been a huge part of Toronto Raptors discourse right now, all over Reddit, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. So wanted to give my thoughts, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about this entire situation. So stay tuned to the Raptors side, just if you want to stay up to date with all the latest Toronto Raptors news. We have the draft coming up and lots of fun stuff coming up this summer. So you guys are the best. Subscribe to the channel. I'm signing out. Cheers.